All right. It's another one of these Homeric Rhapsody things. It's like 30 seconds after the previous video ended, and we're going to keep going with this. We're currently in what is known in the modern era as Book 7 of the Iliad, which is Hector challenged the Achaeans to a duel, and Ajax's lot just came out of the helmet that they shook to draw lots, so Ajax is going to fight with Hector. Sing, goddess, of that duel between two of the greatest men in the age of bronze. That son of Priam, Hector of the shining helm, and Ajax, who had come from Salamis with all his men and his giant shield and his huge giant frame. Those two fought on the plains of Troy before all the men assembled to close out a day of fierce fighting. But the two of them only would shed their blood this day. Aias had put on his massive armor and taken up his giant towering shield, and Hector, already wearing the armor he had on the battlefield, with that horsehair plume furiously staring forth, with the horse inlaid in bronze on his helmet, and all that shining armor that he wore, as well as his own massive shield, and a spear that had taken those lives of so many Achaeans, refting them away and slamming them into the dust to be taken under the earth. Hector stood his ground as Aias approached, towering over him. And thus did they begin the war of words. Aias said to him, "Hector, not the least of Achaeans has come to you this day to fight for our countries and our cause. You will find that I am no weakling, that not only Peleus' son is the bulwark to Achaea and to all our assembled Danaans, but that some other brave ones stand forth as well. I will take your life if I can, or if, barring that, I will give you a wound to remember me by as you fight among your Trojans in days to come." Hector heard these words, and he said to Aias, "O Telamonian Ajax, you will not make me scared like some little child who's playing with his mates. No, I have learned how to be brave. I have learned how to hold the shield to right and to left and to protect my body from blows. You will not find my back exposed, but rather my chest, and if you are to find flesh with your thirsty bronze, it will be in the front as I take you on with no hesitation and with no fear. Nay, you are huge in stature, and you are strong, but I will do no trickery to you. I will not seek any sort of wiles as I approach you or find some opening in your armor, but I will take you on head first and measure my strength against yours. For I think that for all your might and stature, that I still have some skills that you may not expect." Thus did Hector speak, and prepared himself to fight. And the two men clasped each other's arms one last time, and their helmets rang together and they prepared for the duel, stepping back 2 paces and turning to face each other. Thus did the duel begin, and Hector's spear shot forth as he stabbed forward, looking for some opening above Aias' shield. But it stood like a tower, and it stuck into the first 2 layers of oxhide only. So powerful and so huge was that shield that it made not even a distance halfway through. He pulled back his spear, and Aias grabbed forth his own weapon, and he wrenched forward, and he shot forth, and that spear punched through the bronze of Hector's shield. So powerful was his right arm that it went straight through, and if Hector had not twisted away, he would have soon been hurtling toward that horseman death before he even knew that it had touched his skin. Aghast at this, Hector wrenched his shield, and with it came that spear of Aias, who had not expected to be so soon disarmed. But he took from his belt at his chest that shining bronze sword, which was gleaming with golden nails that he had gotten from his father Telamon, from Heracles, that time when they had first sacked the city of Troy. Aias took forth that treasured sword, and he brandished it above his head, and prepared for fight. Hector, still having a spear, stabbed forth, but could not find flesh. He went above and below, and to the side, and nowhere could he find any opening. And finally Aias had struck forth with his shield as Hector made another blow, and the spear went hurtling from Hector's hand. Thus disarmed, Hector too took up his bronze sword that he had from his father, and his father before him, all the way back to Tros, who had forged it in gold and bronze to be a protector of the city of Troy, and all those who protected the city would hold it thenceforth. Hector took his sword, and Aias did as well, and the 2 men raged and fought each other like some pack of wolves, 2 opposing packs that fought over some sort of carcass that had been splayed on the ground, both ravening, both needing to feed their young, and both furiously rending at each other's flesh and trying for that scrap of meat that they could see on the carcass below. So did those 2 men fight. And finally Aias, stabbing forth, had nicked the side of Hector's corselet, and it came through on a leather strap and cut through it and drew blood from Hector's side. A small gash had been made in Hector's flesh, and he recoiled a space, bleeding into his hand as he held the wound. But it was nothing to so fear. Hector, recoiling, as he fell backwards, he saw a large jagged stone, which he picked up and hurled at Aias, and it hit that massive towering shield and rang all the way through Aias, all through his arm, all the way up to his shoulder and into his brain had that ringing gone forth. And seeing the opening, Hector shot forward like a lightning bolt, and he found an opening through Aias' shield as he was distracted, and he cut forth toward his arm, which was unarmored. And Hector found flesh that glutted his sword with blood, and Aias's left arm, which held the shield, had been cut. Not a great gash, but one that would surely leave something to remember as well on that giant's frame. Thus did both men sustain a wound, and they both furiously approached each other once again, looking for blood and aiming for the throat, or for the head, or for the chest, or for some other fatal spot. But just as this occurred, the two heralds, Talthybius and Idaeus, came forth for the Trojans and for the Achaeans. And Idaeus said, "Yea, the two of you be great fighters, and we all see the proof of your might in your fierce battling this day. But the sun, that chariot of Helios and Apollo, has gone down, and allow us to make way for night, for it is not good to continue fighting as darkness falls." Thus did Aias speak to him, and he said, "Idaeus, if this truly be what is to happen, then let Hector be the one to call an end to the fighting, as he was the one who started the combat. I will do, however, as he chooses." And Hector agreed, and called a truce and an end to the fighting, as both men had done valiant deeds that day, worthy of remembering. And they said to each other that they would give gifts, so that neither would forget the other, and that glorious fight that had happened that day, and to show that no ill will was thought between the two, and no foul play had occurred. Thus Hector gave a golden baldric, a sword baldric that would hold the weapon of Aias in gleaming and shining precious gold. And Aias, for his part, gave a cloak woven in the finest purple fabric, that kingly color which is the most valuable of all. And both men, glorying in their might and splendor, returned to their armies. Hector came back to the Trojans, carrying his new purple cloak, and all the men rejoiced to see him coming back mostly unhurt and alive, to be able to protect the city once again in days to come. As he entered the city, all the women and old men and children flocked around him, and they gave a great feast in his honor, as he had taken on that giant Ajax and lived. And for his part, Aias, on returning to the Achaeans, was given a great banquet by that son of Atreus, Agamemnon, and the finest cut of meat, before any of the other captains were to be given their portions. And so both of the heroes rejoiced on that day, and both armies, in the city of Troy and in the camp of the Achaeans, were to find peace, and gave way and took the gift of sleep. All right, again, still pretty stilted. Maybe it's just today. I've done the last 3 episodes, each of which I've described as being pretty stilted, all of them on the same day today. So maybe it's just today, the way I'm performing today. It's going to be different every day, But yeah, I think there was some nice stuff in there. I tried to put a little Homeric simile about like 2 wild beasts fighting over a carcass. And like that was how they were fighting. a little on the nose and also not very many good details, but at least I put something in there. Because again, Homer doesn't necessarily put, I mentioned this in another one about like macro level warfare, where he doesn't really tell you a lot about like how many people are getting killed at any given time, but that he uses the similes to describe how furious the fighting is. He also doesn't, in micro level, like one-on-one combat, he doesn't necessarily describe that many, you know, like blow by blow accounts of like what happened, you know, like, oh, he did this and then he did this and then he did this. It's more like he'll describe one or two and then he'll describe it in terms of some simile that's like, this is how crazy the fight was. And then the climactic couple of blows happens. So I try to put one in there. I can't remember what he used, or what's in the, you know, the Iliad as we know it. But I thought it worked okay. It was pretty lame the way that I had Aias's spear punch through, and that was really cool. And then, you know, he caught Hector's flesh, which was all right, but I couldn't find any good descriptors for it. And then Hector just kind of did the same thing. It was kind of cool how he like stunned Aias with the stone and then came in and stabbed him, which was, I thought was okay. And that was also something I do in my game, which is that there is a skill in the game where you can hurl a massive stone, which I always wanted to include because it's like something that is very, you know, much in the Iliad all the time, where they throw stones at each other. And that the status effect of it is that it does damage and also stuns for one turn. So like Hector kind of like did the actual function of it in the game, where he used it to stun him and then hit him right after. Whereas in the Iliad, a lot of times it totally takes somebody out of commission. You know, the stone will like, it'll rattle them so much that they're like out of the fight at that point, or kill them. Yeah, I thought it worked kind of well in this, the way I did it. And I can't remember if anybody does a speech at the end of the book 7 where like they exchange the gifts or whatever. I don't know. It was okay. It was very bare bones, I thought, which is how all the ones that I've done today have kind of been. But again, you know, that's the way it goes, and we'll just have to keep working on it.